Hello, P4 students. This is Miss Claire again, and welcome to our Math 4 class. Let's continue our lessons for Chapter 14. It talks about fractions. In this video, you will learn Lesson 3, Comparing and Ordering Fractions, and Lesson 4, Fractions and Decimals. The learning objectives are to compare and order fractions. So you compare which one is greater and which one is smaller. And we will also order from smallest to largest and largest to smallest. And also to recognize equivalence of fractions and decimals. Okay, before, are you ready? Come on, let's start. So before we start, children, let's review first about equivalent fractions. Again, to get the equivalent fractions, we need to multiply the fraction, both the numerator and the denominator, by the same number. Example, 4/5 times 2 equals 8/10. So they are equivalent fractions. Let's multiply by 3. It will give us 12/15. And we multiply by 4. This is equal to 16/20. So these 4/5, we have the 8/10, 12/15, and 16/20. All of these four are what we call equivalent fractions. So they have the same amount. Now let's compare 4/6 and 3/6. This is 4/6 and this is 3/6. Both of these fractions have the same denominators. It means one whole is divided into 6. So, if we have the same denominators, we will only compare the numerators. Which one is bigger or greater, 4 or 6, or 4 or 3? It's the 4. So, 4 is greater than 3. Therefore, this is the greater fraction. 4/6 is greater than 3/6. So, if we compare two fractions that have the same denominator, the greater fraction has the greater numerator. The smaller fraction has the smaller numerator. Okay, take note on this one. How about if they have different denominators and their numerators are same, just like 2/4 and 2/5? Take note. So we will only compare the denominators because they have the same numerators. For the same whole, for this one, the 1/4 or 1 out of 4 parts is greater than 1 out of 5 parts, right? Take a look. 1/4 is greater than 1/5. So if you have 2/4, this is greater than 2/5. So 2/4 is greater than 2/5. So if we compare fractions that have the same numerator, the greater fraction has the smaller denominator. So if they have the same numerator, the greater fraction has the smaller denominator. The smaller fraction has the greater denominator. So 2/5 is smaller than 2/4. Or 2/4 is greater than 2/5. So take note on this rule. Another, let's order or arrange these fractions from smallest to greatest. So we have 4/7, 6/7, and 2/7. So when we order, let's compare them. Since they have the same denominators, it will be easier to order. So again, if the fractions have the same denominators, compare only the numerators. Which one is the smallest? Which one is the smallest numerators? Yes, the smallest is the 2/7. So therefore, the smallest is 2/7, followed by 4/7, and the largest or the greatest is the 6/7. So if fractions have the same denominator like this, the smallest fraction has the smallest numerator, and this is 2/7. The greatest fraction has the greatest numerator. Okay, before another. How about if they have different denominators? Take a look here. Order 1/6, 4/6, and 1/7 from smallest to greatest. So let's order these three fractions. Take note, 1/6 and 4 6 have the same denominators. So we can compare the numerators only because they have the same. Which one is smaller, 1 or 4? Of course, 1 6. So 1 6 is less than or smaller than 4 6. Okay. Now let's compare the 1 6 and 1 7 because they have the same numerators. So let's compare only the denominators. Remember our rule that if the denominator is greater, it has a smaller value. If the denominator is smaller denominator, it has a greater value. Therefore, 1 7 is less than 1 6 because we divide the whole into 7, so that each part becomes smaller. So we can conclude now which one is the smallest fraction, and that is the 1 7. 1 7 is the smallest, followed by 1 6 in the middle, and the greatest or the biggest fraction is 4 6. How about if we compare fractions with different numerators and denominators? We have 3/8 and 1/4. It is easier to find the smaller number if we have the illustration or the pictures. It is clearly here that we can say that 1/4 is smaller based on the shaded part compared to 3/8. But how about if we don't have the illustration or the pictures, only the fractions? So we could use the equivalent fractions. We will find the equivalent fractions of 1/4 that the denominator will be the same with 8, and that is multiplying by 2, and that is 2/8. So 1/4 and 2/8 are equivalent fractions. But this one, the denominator is already 8, and this one is also 8. So it will be easier to find which one is the smaller or the greater. Remember, if the denominators are the same, the higher fraction has the higher numerator. The smaller fraction has the smaller numerator. So 3 and 2, the smaller is 2/8. So 2/8 is less than or smaller than 3/8. So therefore, our 1/4 is smaller than 3/8. Okay, before? How about this one? Let's order these 3 fractions from largest to smallest. Take a look. They have different numerators and also different denominators. So we have the 3/4, 1/2, and 5/8. But look at the denominators. Number 4 and number 2 are multiples of 8. So it means to say we can multiply or we can divide 8 by these 2 numbers. Okay. So we can find the equivalent fractions of 3/4 that the denominator is 8, and that is multiplying by 2. It is 6/8. So 3/4 and 6/8 are the same, but 6/8 is already same with 5/8, the same denominator. Another is the 1/2. Let's multiply it by 4, and it gives us 4/8, the same. So all of our 3 fractions now have the same denominators, and it will be easier to order and compare them. So which one has the largest numerator? 6, 4, or 5? Yes, it's the 6/8. Therefore, 6/8 is our largest, followed by 5/8, and the smallest is 4/8. Now, using our original fraction, so the smallest or the largest then is the 3/4, followed by 5/8, and the smallest is the 1/2. So this is how to find or order fractions with different numerators and denominators. Okay, next, let's go to fractions and decimals. Let's review this one, children. Which digit is in the tens place? So we have 63.25. Which digit is in the tens place? Yes, it's the number 2. How about the digit in the hundreds place? Yes, it's the number 5. Okay, so don't forget about the tens and the hundreds place. Okay, now let's find the equivalence of fractions and decimals. Let's start with the tens. So 1/10 is written as 1/10 as a fraction. Do you remember how to write 1/10 as a decimal? Yes, it's 0.1. Okay, so using our number line here, so we have from 0 to 1, we divide 1 into 10 equal parts. So one part is 0.1, the next is 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, and 0.9. That the equivalent in fraction is, if we have 1/10, that's 0.1. So 2/10 is 0.2, and the rest. So when we see 9/10, that is 0.9. The one here, children, is actually, that is 10/10. So don't forget, that is 10/10. So 10/10 is equal to 1, and it is a whole number. So we can just simply write 1. So 2/10 is 2/10 or 0.2 as a decimal. 3/10 is 0.3. Take note, that is the decimal form. 5/10 is 5, 0.5. And of course, the 10/10 is 1. Okay, how about in hundreds? Okay, so 100 is 100 as a fraction. As you remember, when we write this as a decimal, this is 0.01. It has 2 decimal places after the decimal point. So, comparing and using the number line, we can see clearly the equivalence of the fraction and decimal. So from 0 to 0.1. In fraction, that is 0 to 10 hundredths. 10 hundredths, okay? So 100 is 0.01. 200 is 0.02. Take note. How about 400? This is so 0.4. Next, we have 10 hundredths. See, 10 hundredths, children, is written as 0.1 or 0.10. Take a look. 10 hundredths is like this. So 10 parts out of 100. This is also equal to 1/10, like this. 1 part out of 10. That's why written as decimal, this is 0.10 or simply 0.1. They are the same. So if we have 100 hundredths, of course, that is equal to 1 whole or 1. Okay, so children, that is the equivalence of fractions and decimals. Okay, before, that's all about lesson 3, comparing and ordering fractions. So remember the different ways on how to compare and order fractions. And also for lesson 4, fractions and decimals. So thank you for watching P4, and I hope that you learned a lot in this video. I will discuss more about this lesson during our Zoom meeting. Always remember to stay safe and healthy. God bless everyone and have a great day.